Steelers owner Art Rooney II says that all signs are pointing to quarterback Aaron Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the coming days. Today on Steelers Talk, we're going to be breaking down his comments on Aaron Rodgers and why he believes Rodgers will sign on the dotted line in the coming days. And then also we'll talk about some recent comments from Mike Tomlin saying that he is quote-unquote comfortable with Mason Rudolph as his starting quarterback and why you should not believe that. Then we'll get to why I think the Pittsburgh Steelers better hurry their ass up and get TJ Watt under a new contract extension before Micah Parsons' deal gets done. And then we'll finish up today's show with some new NFL league rules that were revealed at the NFL owners meetings today in Palm Beach, Florida. Before we get into the content today, do me a favor and click that follow button on X if you are on X and you want daily Steelers updates. I'm going to be giving my instant reaction whenever Aaron Rodgers makes his decision on my X account. Plus, I put out a bunch of extensive draft content on my X account as well. You can go to @Jack_Sperry to support me, support the show. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. All right, man, so let's get into this right now here, where we're going to be talking about what Art Rooney II, the Steelers owner, had to say when it comes to the Aaron Rodgers saga and why he is optimistic that the four-time MVP will sign to play for his football team in 2025. This is what he had to say. He says, "We keep hearing that he is heading in our direction. All signs are positive so far." So it certainly seems like Art thinks that Rodgers will eventually become a Pittsburgh Steeler this year. Then when it comes to Rodgers working out with DK Metcalf in LA this past weekend, he says, "I would say it's a good sign he wanted to do that." And he's 100% right about this, guys. All signs do point to the Pittsburgh Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers at some point. Whenever Aaron is ready to kind of come out of his hole and say, "I'm ready to come and be a Pittsburgh Steeler," you know, the Steelers are going to be sitting there and they're going to be waiting for him. And he will be eventually a Pittsburgh Steeler. In my opinion, it is just a matter of time at this point because of all the signs and all the things that have kind of pointed to his interest in the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last several weeks. First of all, he has had quote-unquote ongoing conversations, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, since free agency began, where he has been in constant contact with Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator, and more regarding this potential pairing between Rodgers and the black and gold. Also, he initiated a 6-hour visit in Pittsburgh that was, quote-unquote, beyond the pitch, according to Josina Anderson. He also has been in contact with multiple Steelers players, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, we know Pat Freiermuth went on Pittsburgh radio last week and said that Rodgers did reach out to him via DM. And then also he's had that exclusive throwing session with DK Metcalf in Los Angeles this past weekend. So all the signs do point to the Pittsburgh Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers at some point, and for Rodgers to eventually make this decision, whether that's 10 minutes from now, 10 days, or 10 weeks, you know, it does seem that Rodgers eventually will make his decision to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But if there's somebody in the Steelers organization that is getting a little bit antsy, it is Art Rooney II. He was asked directly today how long he'd be willing to wait for Rodgers to make his decision. He says, well, not forever, but a little while longer. So I think the big question then becomes, how long is a quote-unquote a little while longer? Is that a couple more days? Is that a couple more weeks? Is that a couple more months? I don't know the answer to that question, guys. Mike Tomlin, when he spoke to the media, kind of made it seem like training camp was kind of the marker for demarcation as to when they would say, "Aaron, sorry, it's been too long. We're not going to accept you." But it seems like Art Rooney II, his timeline is a little bit ahead of where Coach T's is at this point in time. As far as the latest rumors surrounding Rodgers' whereabouts, there was somebody that claims to have seen him in Tijuana, Mexico yesterday. They put out a video of somebody that definitely seems to appear to be Aaron Rodgers leaving a hotel in Tijuana. Is he there for a darkness retreat? Is he there to take some plant medicine, otherwise known as ayahuasca? Who knows why he is in Tijuana, or if he even is there. Maybe it's an old video. But maybe the last step in this process for Aaron Rodgers, you know, he's done all the research. He's come up with an offensive plan with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. You know, the contract has been agreed upon for weeks at this point. Maybe the final step for Aaron Rodgers is to get into the darkness or to take some psychedelics and really, you know, let his mind let him know what he wants to do moving forward. Does he still want to retire? Does he want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler this year? He claims to have gotten some clairvoyance in his darkness retreat before he ended up deciding to not retiring, then go to the New York Jets a couple of seasons back. So that seemed to be a very important part of the process then. And if he's in Tijuana, Mexico right now, that seems to me like a kind of retreat type of destination. So it's very possible that he's in the darkness right now, or it's very possible he's under the influence of some psychedelic drug telling him whether or not he's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in 2025. And now another theory that's been thrown out there in terms of when he's going to make this announcement is that the Pat McAfee show that's going to be in Pittsburgh here on April 9th. It's called the Big Night Odds. And McAfee and all of his cohorts on the show, and then they're going to have a bunch of guests are going to be there in Pittsburgh. And right now they are selling even more tickets. They sold out immediately for that event, and now they're selling even more tickets, over almost 1,000, almost 2,000 more tickets than previously scheduled, and that is on April 9th. So that is next Wednesday for those of you that are wondering. And I do think that the closer we get to that date, the more likely it seems that Aaron Rodgers might be making an appearance, and he may or may not be wearing some Steelers apparel, and he might be making his official decision at the Big Night Out. McAfee and his cohorts on the show, kind of brush it off and say, "Oh yeah, I wish he would decide to make this decision on our show." They're kind of making it seem like Rodgers has not accepted an invitation to this show, but that could just be them trying to play it off, trying to keep it a secret. Who knows what Aaron Rodgers' plan is at this point? All we know is that he's showing a lot of interest in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it certainly seems like all signs are pointing to him being the Steelers' starting quarterback in 2025 as it sits here right now. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Will Aaron Rodgers make his decision by the end of this week, or will he wait for next week or beyond? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no to today's pinned question. So Mike Tomlin spoke to the media this week. Yesterday on the show, I talked about my takeaways from his media availability. And I did not talk about Mason Rudolph, but he did have a pretty interesting thing to say where he said that he was comfortable with Mason Rudolph as his starting quarterback for 2025 if need be. That is, if Aaron Rodgers decides not to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, what I want to make abundantly clear here, what this doesn't mean is that the Steelers are not going to be pursuing Aaron Rodgers. This does not mean that if they miss out on Rodgers that they won't be getting another quarterback and that they think Mason Rudolph is a really, really good franchise-level quarterback. That's not what Tomlin is saying here. What he actually means is that the Steelers are cool with him being a spot starter and a good backup for their team, all right? Or potentially, even if they miss out on Rodgers, they're cool with him starting the season as the starter. But in terms of being their bona fide QB1 that they think is going to lead them to the promised land, Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin have continuously talked about how they want to win a Super Bowl this year. All right, they do not believe Mason Rudolph can win them a Super Bowl this year. They just don't. They think that he can come in and start a couple of games and help them out and do all those different things, but they do not believe in him as their franchise-level quarterback. At most, they believe in him as a bridge starter that can come in and mentor a rookie that they draft early in the NFL draft, but this does not mean that they believe in him or that they're comfortable with him as their long-term franchise quarterback, all right? And remember, this is the same team and the same media that said that the Steelers had quote-unquote full faith in Kenny Pickett. What did they do? They brought in Russell Wilson and then traded Pickett weeks later. And then they also said that the Steelers were reportedly all in on Justin Fields and only offered him Daniel Jones level money and let him go to the New York Jets for just $20 million per season. All right, that doesn't really scream all in to me, all right? So these reports coming out and, the Steelers saying themselves, you just can't take this team at their word, all right? They said this year that they wanted to bring back Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. Obviously, they didn't want to bring back really either one of them because they weren't willing to pay Justin Fields mid-level starter money. And then, obviously last year with Kenny Pickett, they said, we love Kenny Pickett, we love Mason Rudolph, and then neither one of them is in the quarterback room for that season. So, whatever this team pretty much says about the quarterback position, you can pretty much chalk it up as it not being true. And that's been kind of the trend with Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney, the second for that matter, over the last several years. And I do think Pittsburgh will add at least one more veteran quarterback to this room. I don't know if it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. It's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers. But if they don't get Rodgers, I still think that a trade for Kirk Cousins is still on the table. I still believe giving Ryan Tannehill a call is still on the table. there's still opportunities for the Steelers to make this room better, even if Aaron Rodgers decides to retire or go play elsewhere. And I think Rodgers will be here. We just talked about that in our first segment today. But at the end of the day here, guys, Omar Khan has said they want 4 quarterbacks in this room. One of those will be a veteran currently not under contract. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What's the percent chance that Mason Rudolph is the Week 1 starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Put it on a scale of 0, meaning no chance, to 100, meaning he is definitely locked in to be the starting quarterback for this team in Week 1 of next year. I'll give it like a 2% chance, 1% chance, very low percentage chance that Mason Rudolph is actually the starting quarterback for this football team next year in Week 1. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Fanatics. And while I'm telling you about our promotion on Fanatics today, let me know, scale of 0 to 100%, chance Mason Rudolph is this team's starter in Week 1. And with that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. And the brand new 2025 NFL draft hats are officially here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that is the official draft hat right there, guys. I think it's an awesome design with the gold brim. You got the really clean design. You got the black. And then they also have this off-white coloring as well with the gold leafing on the black brim. I think you can't go wrong with either one of these designs, guys, but it is the black design that is the official design for the Steelers that all of the draft picks this year will be wearing in Green Bay. So you guys can go chatsports.com/PIT25. That's PIT25 to get your Steelers draft hat today from our friends at Fanatics. And then also as an added benefit, it helps out the channel because if you use our link, chatsports.com/PIT25, that's down in the comments and description, by the way, click on that link and you make a purchase. Part of the proceeds go to us here at Steelers Talk to help us keep the lights on and keep this content free for you guys every single day. So if you want a Steelers draft hat, I think that these designs are some of the best that we've seen from the NFL in at least the last couple of years. So if you guys want to get a sick Steelers cap in your collection right now, go chatsports.com/Pittsburgh25. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. All right, now we're on to TJ Watt here, and I think that the Steelers need to, hurry up a little bit here. And if they really want to get TJ Watt under a long-term contract, they got to beat the Dallas Cowboys to the deal with Micah Parsons. All right, Clarence Hill Jr. said this on his X account, who is a Cowboys reporter, says Cowboys have offered Micah Parsons a record contract. So that's over $40 million per season, which is what Myles Garrett got this offseason without his agent involved. So no deal yet. And then, of course, there's a whole saga brewing right now between the Cowboys not wanting to negotiate with Micah Parsons' agent. They only want to negotiate with the player. And then the player says, Micah's telling him, listen, man, the agent has to make the deal for me. I'm not going to make my own deal. You have to communicate with my agent. So unless Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are willing to come to the table and meet with his agent, it seems like that Micah Parsons might end up hitting the open market or get traded at some point before his contract expires. But plain simply, guys, now that Myles Garrett has been paid and Trey Hendrickson might be getting paid here soon, and then Micah Parsons is slated to get paid here soon, time's ticking for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that they're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers, and they still don't know if he's going to be on the roster for this year or in years future. But you can't wait to pay Watt, especially if like the Cowboys pay Micah Parsons like $41.5 million, and you're stuck paying TJ Watt $42 million per season. That is like almost high-level quarterback money at that point, and he is an edge rusher, all right? And I know Watt's impact on this team. He's an awesome player. I love myself some TJ Watt, guys. He's a perennial defensive player of the year, and I think anybody suggesting that we trade him right now is kind of a little crazy. But, I think that it'd be nice to have him under a contract less than $40 million per season. If he wanted to stay in Pittsburgh and he wanted to be a one-helmet guy and he was willing to take somewhere between $36 and $38 million per season, I think that would be an ideal number for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But let's face it, TJ is a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, especially when he's healthy. And if he wanted to ask for $40 million per season, he's within his rights to ask for that. All right, plain and simply, he is within his right to ask for what Myles Garrett got, because you can argue, in fact, I think most Steelers fans would argue he's been an even better player than Myles Garrett has been, especially over the last couple of seasons. So, I think that this is definitely a sticky situation. $40 million is a lot to pay for an edge rusher. It all depends on what TJ's asking for, but if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and you really want to bring back TJ Watt and you want to make him a one-helmet guy, I mean, the market is the market, man. You got to pay what you got to pay in order to keep him in the building for the long term. So if that's your goal, get it done and get it done fast. So you be the GM for me down there in the comments section. Let's say Watt's asking price is $40 million per season and he's not willing to come down from that. What are you doing if you are Steelers GM Omar Khan? Type S if you would sign him, or type W if you would let him walk in NFL free agency. You could also type W if you would trade him. Let me know what you guys are thinking down there in the comment section. And as always, give me your reasonings why. So now we'll finish up today's show with some new NFL rulings at the owners' meetings in Palm Beach, Florida this week that you guys need to be made aware of as we approach the 2025 season. First off, it looks like the tush push will in fact be back for the NFL in 2025. It was a 16-16 vote, the first time that they ended up going over this vote for the tush push, and the Steelers were against it. They were absolutely against bringing back the tush push for 2025 because, as Mike Tomlin put it, he doesn't want to limit creativity and innovation. That's what the Eagles did by introducing this play. But he did make a good point that the NFL makes it illegal for a field goal block attempt to use another player and kind of push them to increase your chances of getting a field goal block because of player safety. So if it's illegal to do it on a field goal block, why is it legal to do it in a more intense fashion where everybody is pushing each other at the line of scrimmage on offense? It doesn't make a lot of sense if one is illegal because it's too dangerous for players, and then a more intense version of it is legal on offense because the Eagles are good at it, right? So I understand why Mike Tomlin and the Steelers voted for banning the tush push in 2025, but they need 24 votes. They only have 16 right now. It's been tabled until the owners' meetings again in March, or in May, I should say. But I got to tell you guys, I think it's going to be tough to find 8 more votes to ban this play, so I think it will be back in 2025. Then also, when it comes to touchbacks and the kickoff rules, the ball will now be placed at the 35-yard line for touchbacks, and they are expecting the kickoff return rate, so that's the percentage of plays in kickoffs where it's actually taken out and returned by the kickoff return man. It was about 35% last year in the NFL. They're expecting it to go up to around 80% with this new rule change. So that is another one. Then also the overtime rules now apply to the regular season, the playoff overtime rules. So both teams will have a crack at it. Both teams will have the football during the overtime period. And then the big change in terms of the timing of overtime is that it's going to be 10 minutes and not 15 minutes like it is during an NFL playoff game. So I think that the big implications of this is that when you go to overtime, I think the strategy is going to be deferring to the other team. You want the ball second because if they score a touchdown, you gotta match it. But if they kick a field goal, a touchdown wins it or a field goal ties it. You kind of know what you need to do if you go second. So I think that that's going to change who gets the ball first in terms of the coin toss when we get to overtime from now on. And then also replay assist has been expanded to certain penalties that are called on the field, but not creating new penalties. So essentially, face mask, defenseless players, horse collar tackles, tripping, and roughing the kicker, if it's called on the field, can be rescinded by replay assist. So like if they throw a flag for a face mask, but then replay assist says actually he didn't grab the face mask, then they can take away the penalty. But this only applies if the flag was thrown. So like for example, in the Vikings-Rams Thursday night football game last year where Sam Darnold got his face mask tugged and then there's no call, it would still be a no call because there's no flag there's no penalty called on the play. And with this new ruling, new penalties cannot be created by replay assist. I think we're eventually going to get there. I think after another season and we see a couple more examples like this where it's a clear and obvious foul that's not called on the field, I think you got to start using replay assist to get these calls right, specifically in the fourth quarter when the game is on the line. You got to get these calls right. So this is a step in the right direction, but in my opinion, they are still not all the way there. And I hope in the years to come, they eventually get this rule right. So sound off for me down there in the comment section. Should the tush push be banned by the National Football League? The Steelers seem to think so. What say you? Type B if you would ban it, or type K if you would keep it. Personally, I kind of tend to side with Mike Tomlin here, where it's like if the field goal block attempt, you can't use other players to kind of vault yourself, and that's a player safety issue. Why can you vault yourself and have people push behind a quarterback for the tush push? I completely understand that argument. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. I'm in the ban camp, But let me know where you are down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the very end of today's program. Of course, if Aaron Rodgers decides to come out of his hole and give us a decision tonight, we will be going live on this channel. But also, anytime that he makes that decision, we will be going live on this channel to get you breaking news coverage of the Aaron Rodgers decision. And then, of course, we'll have more Steelers content coming your way tomorrow. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.